As we near the end of 2020, I think we can all agree that this year has been the most difficult time in our lives. As we said farewell to 2019 and rang in 2020, we had no idea of the difficult days that were ahead, beginning just weeks into the new year. COVID-19 was just a blip on the radar screen of making news in January, but by the end of February and into March, we learned that the virus, which began in China, had found its way to the United States. The first cases were reported in Washington State and later in New York as travelers returning or visiting from Europe carried the virus with them to the East Coast. On March 19th, Governor Gavin Newsom issued a stay-at-home order for California residents in an effort to protect the health of Californians and slow the spread of COVID-19. Prior to the governor's order, the Sun Lakes Master Board took proactive steps and began shutting down activities and events on March 12th. Our lives suddenly changed as we began the battle against an invisible and insidious enemy that the world is still fighting. I would be remiss if I didn't mention just some of the things we have experienced as a community and a nation in 2020. In March, the World Health Organization labeled coronavirus as a pandemic. People made masks for their friends and neighbors, personnel working in hospitals, medical clinics, and nursing homes. There was a shortage of PPE for doctors, nurses, and other frontline healthcare personnel. Toilet paper and other paper products disappeared from grocery shelves. Travel and vacations were canceled or postponed. Disinfecting wipes and sprays also disappeared very quickly from the marketplace and are still difficult to find. Those who could worked from home. Schools closed and students and teachers transitioned to online or hybrid learning. Frontline healthcare workers, grocery store employees, EMTs, firemen, farm workers, and other essential workers continued to report for work every day. Americans used Zoom as a method of communicating, conducting business, and for online learning. We were able to visit with family and friends through FaceTime and Skype. Birthdays were celebrated with drive-by golf cart parades. We learned how to use Instacart to purchase delivered groceries. Weddings and graduations were canceled, postponed, or scaled back. Americans were barred from entering the European Union. The U.S.-Canadian border was closed. We missed hugging our family and friends. Holidays were celebrated differently this year. Haircuts, manicures, and pedicures were often difficult to obtain. Restaurants closed for inside dining and bars closed. Broadway went dark, and community theaters and movie theaters were closed. The Sun Lake Rock Fairies spread cheer with the artfully painted rocks they distributed to residents and throughout the community. Dr. Anthony Fauci became a household name. Naval hospital ships were deployed to New York City and Los Angeles to limit the mounting pressure felt by hospitals. Medical appointments, health care were often conducted through telehealth consultations. We repeatedly heard the admonitions to wear face masks, social distance, and wash our hands. Residents delivered food and groceries to their neighbors. Small businesses have closed and are continuing to close. Millions of Americans are unemployed and facing economic despair. Millions of out-of-work Americans turn to food banks to put food on the table for their families. Locally, Carol's Kitchen, Table of Plenty, and Help provided food for those in need. We read books and put puzzles together to fill the hours of isolation. Americans shopped online. Pet adoptions emptied animal shelters. Gardening and planting fruit, vegetables, and flowers became a new hobby for many residents. Walks, hikes, and bicycling are safe activities. Channel 97 and Good Day Sun Lakes posted the latest COVID-related information along with news in a flash and other entertainment. Sun Lake's entertainers Lee and Michael Stone, Dix and Ellen Henneke, Sheila and Larry James, and Wanda and Ray Roberson provided musical entertainment on social media. Scientists and drug companies have been working on a COVID vaccine for months. On December 11th, Pfizer BioNTech was granted an emergency use authorization from the Food and Drug Administration, and frontline healthcare workers began receiving the vaccine across the United States on December 14th. It is anticipated that the vaccine developed by Moderna will also be granted an emergency use authorization, and the vaccine will be ready for distribution before the end of the year. We have watched the number of cases and COVID-related deaths climb with each passing month, and we are all suffering from pandemic fatigue. However, we need to continue to take precautions against the virus. If we have learned nothing else this year, we have learned that we are resilient and can adapt to the hardships we have endured in 2020. I am looking forward with renewed hope to 2021 and hope the vaccines can bring an end to this pandemic that has ravaged the United States and the world. Anita Lawrence reporting for Good Day Sun Lakes.